133 years after Freeport became an incorporated city in Harper County, Kansas, it was voted to be dissolved in 2017. Time had marched on for Freeport. If you could put a definition, a real definition to the term ghost town, then this one probably fits.
At its peak of 700 people, Freeport had a bank, a post office, hotel, a newspaper, dry goods, grocery, hardware, and drugstores, and 2 grain elevators. The town even boasted a police force for a time, but one by one, those businesses closed. What remains viable in 2025 is an empty school, a church, and a couple of residential homes. The town's main business district barely remains standing. The school hasn't seen children in years, but a drive-by indicates that somebody still cares about it. The building is maintained and the lawns seem mowed regularly. The playground swing set still drifts gently in the wind, and if you look closely, you can still see a ghostly outline of children laughing and playing. I understand that a longtime resident, one of the last remaining, graduated right here in the mid-40s. 2 elevators in town still stand, but harvest doesn't bring in truckloads of grain anymore. I wish we could get inside to see the remains of this once bustling farmer-fed business. But alas, no trespassing signs are present, and the current owner seems to have forgotten our written request for authorization to enter. If that ever changes, you folks will be the first to see it right here on This Is Us Today. The Freeport State Bank, which once gave the town its title, the smallest incorporated city in the United States, with a bank, closed in 2009. The bank and the post office share a place on Main Street. While the post office building still stands, it is no longer staffed as of 2016. But you know what? Today, a pillar of metal boxes just outside the building is where the remaining community still gets their mail. Again, the brick building still remains to this day, but before long, time and nature will take it down also. In the mid-40s, Freeport still had a couple of grocery stores, a lumberyard, a barber and a hairdresser, the bank, and a creamery. It also had the school where children still graduated from the 8th grade. In the 50s, you could still get gas and your car repaired right here on Main Street. The bank is just one relic of the town's storied past. Another is the 1930s outhouse. It has a concrete toilet, and it once provided relief for both the post office and bank. I have my doubts it was locked regularly, so others probably used it also. In the 70s, a new bank president decided to install indoor plumbing, and frankly, I'm a bit surprised that it took that long. I made that walk myself, and imagine leaving the bank, headed north, down the sidewalk past the other businesses, and it seems a bit far to me. Can you imagine doing this when you really needed to go bad? I suspect that one would occasionally witness a half-city block sprint from bank to relief. A street sign leading to the school designated Midlothian Avenue, a reference to Freeport's very early years, and here's where things started to get a bit dicey. In the 1870s, Midlothian was its own town, and according to some historical articles, was located just 2 miles to the northwest of Freeport. In contrary, published books and other newspaper articles dictate that the town was 3 miles to the southeast. So as of this date, I'm unsure as to which of these is the correct location. Regardless, Midlothian founders had initially determined their location was correct for the railroad to come through. When the railroad didn't cross as thought, the location was changed, and in March of 1885, The old post office, including the balance of the town, were moved and settled right next to the brand new town of Freeport. Now, the two towns sat side by side. The locations of both cities were too close together for residents to stay civil. To me, I don't really see what the big deal was, but evidently it was a deal, and a big one. Freeport's Main Street was now 2 blocks north of Midlothian's Main Street. Hostility grew, especially over who would get the new railroad depot, and when it went on Freeport's side, tensions peaked, and residents went as far to build a fence down the middle, daring each other to cross it. Eventually, leaders of the towns came to an agreement. Midlothian gave up its name, and Freeport got its post office in exchange for opening the vacant strip of land between the two towns, thus giving Midlothians access to the new railroad depot. With this, Freeport immediately doubled in size, and by the spring of 1892, there were 700 people living there. However, as luck would have it, that prosperity was very short-lived, because just a year later, several things happened that led to its downfall. The population plummeted when many of those 700 residents took advantage of the Cherokee Strip Run in the Oklahoma Territory. Don't forget that Oklahoma is only 13 miles to the south. Wheat prices also crashed that year, and the Panic of 1893 was an economic depression in the U.S. The bank runs, the credit crunch, and the populist movement were all factors that led to Freeport's demise. The Cherokee Strip Land Run, the fourth and largest of those runs, attracted 100,000 people. And of course, many of those were from Freeport. The land run is a story in itself, and for those unfamiliar, books have been written and movies have been made, including the most familiar, at least for me, was the 1960 film Cimarron, starring Glenn Ford. By 1894, only 54 people still lived in Freeport, and in 1910, population peaked again at 160. But as fate would have it, 130 years later, the population is back down to 5. A local longtime resident has been quoted as saying, "We're a little village now, but there are still friends here, and we still have memories." I hope this short film brings forth deep meaning to those unfamiliar with the town of Freeport. From boom to dust. Life is funny that way, isn't it? Or maybe it's not funny at all. Have a good one. Come back and see us.